The letter came on a Tuesday. Crisp, white envelope, gold embossed seal at the top. Silver Pines Homeowners Association. At first I thought it was junk mail, but when I opened it, my coffee nearly slipped from my hand. Notice of violation. Your property is not in compliance with community standards. Immediate corrective action is required. Community standards? My nearest neighbor was a moose. I lived off Route 9, deep in the Montana woods. Miles from the nearest mailbox, certainly miles from any community. Still, curiosity got me. I called the number listed. Silver Pines HOA office, this is Linda, said a clipped, overly polite voice. Yeah, hi. This is Jason Miller. I think you sent this notice to the wrong guy. I live on Timberline Ridge, 40 acres of forest and a cabin I built myself. A pause. Then, yes, Mr. Miller, that's the one. You're in violation for unapproved structures, exterior colors inconsistent with community guidelines, and an unapproved gravel driveway. I blinked. Lady, the only guidelines out here are trees and gravity. I didn't sign up for any HOA. Sir, your parcel falls under Silver Pines jurisdiction now. Dues are required. Please refer to the enclosed fine schedule. Click, she hung up. I laughed at first. But then the fines came. $200 the first week, $400 the next. Then came a certified letter threatening a lien on my cabin. That's when I drove down to their office in town. It was one of those shiny new developments with pastel houses and manicured lawns. The kind of place where the trash bins have to face the same direction and people gossip about whose grass grew unevenly. Inside, a guy in a blue suit greeted me with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Mr. Miller, what can we help you with today? You can start by explaining why your little club thinks it owns my property. He chuckled. The county expanded Silver Pines last year. Everything north of Oak Creek is now part of our community. Expanded? I repeated. Who decided that? The county zoning board approved it. You should have received notice. No one asked me. I bought that land 10 years ago. Paid cash, built my own roads. I don't need your HOA telling me what color my cabin can be. He leaned forward. If you refuse to comply, we'll pursue legal action. Something in his tone, calm, smug, lit a fuse in me. I picked up the map hanging on the wall behind him and studied it. Their neat little neighborhood spread right up to a line labeled Oak Creek Boundary. That line ran through my property. Tell me, I asked slowly, you sure you know exactly where your boundaries are? He frowned. Of course. I smiled. Then you might want to double check. Because if that map's right, your fancy new roads, they might just be on my land. And that's when I knew this was just getting started. I didn't sleep much that night. The more I thought about that map on the wall, the more something gnawed at me. I pulled out the old fireworks. Proof box from under my bed. The one holding every deed. Plat and survey from when I bought the land. 10 years ago. I'd walked every inch of that property with my dad before I built the cabin. He'd laughed, saying, son, if you ever get lost, just follow Oak Creek, that's your southern border. So I did what he'd taught me. I traced that borderline on the old survey map, comparing it to the new one I found online for Silver Pines. My finger froze. Their main road, Birch Hollow Drive, cut straight through my southern parcel. And not just barely. The entire first quarter mile of their private community road was sitting right on my land. I grabbed my phone and called an old friend, Paul, who'd been a land surveyor for 30 years. He showed up 2 days later in his beat-up Ford with a thermos of coffee and that same grin he'd had since high school. Jason, this better not be another one of your wild goose chases, he said, laughing as he pulled out his equipment. Just wait until you see this, I said, handing him the maps. He whistled low. Well, I'll be damned. You might be onto something. We spent the afternoon walking the property lines. GPS markers, boundary stones, the whole deal. By sunset, Paul had confirmed what I suspected. Buddy, he said, rolling up his map, not only do they have their main road on your property, but part of their fancy new walking trail cuts through your backwoods, too. You've got them boxed in without even trying. I grinned, slow and wide. So technically, he nodded, you own the only access in or out of Silver Pines. I stared down the gravel road they'd paved years ago, cars rolling by, unaware they were driving across my land. It was poetic. The next morning I called a lawyer in town. Sharp woman named Samantha who didn't blink when I told her the story. You've got them dead to rights, she said. We'll draft a notice of trespass and unauthorized use of private property. Let's see how they like being on the other end of the paperwork. We sent the notice. 3 days later, a shiny black SUV pulled up to my cabin. Out stepped 3 HOA board members. The woman from the phone, the man in the blue suit, and another guy carrying a clipboard like it was a shield. "Mr. Miller," the woman said, forcing a smile, "it seems there's been a misunderstanding." "Oh, I agree," I said, leaning on my porch rail. "You've been trespassing for years." The man in the suit spoke up. "We can come to an arrangement." I crossed my arms. "You mean like I pay you dues? Or like you pay me rent?" He blinked. "Rent?" "Yeah," I said, smiling now. "If you want to keep driving on my roads, we're going to have to negotiate." They stared at me, stunned. And that's when I realized, for the first time in years, I had the upper hand. 2 weeks later, the story exploded across town. The local paper ran the headline, "Man charges HOA to use their own roads." At first, I didn't want the attention. I wasn't loyal to be some folk hero. I just wanted to be left alone. But once the story hit Facebook, everything changed. My phone lit up like a Christmas tree. Half the town was cheering me on. The other half thought I was some kind of outlaw. Meanwhile, the HOA was scrambling. Their residents were furious. Without access through my land, they were effectively trapped. The only other exit road was still under county review and wouldn't be usable for months, so they came back. This time, they weren't smug. They were desperate. The same woman, Linda, approached me again, her voice softer now. "Mr. Miller, we'd like to resolve this peacefully. The residents are upset. Kids can't get to school easily. Delivery trucks are having to turn around. Maybe we can talk?" I motioned toward the porch. "Sit down. Let's talk." The man in the blue suit was quieter this time. He set a folder on my table. "We're prepared to make a fair offer." Inside the folder was a proposal. They'd pay me an annual fee to lease the land under the roads, plus drop every fine and remove my property from their jurisdiction. I looked them dead in the eye. "I'll sign on one condition. You publicly admit you were wrong." They froze. "What?" "Put it in writing," I said. An official statement, acknowledging that Silver Pines overstepped its boundaries and that my property was never part of your subdivision. The man frowned. "That's unusual." "Yeah," I said. "So is someone trying to claim my land with a letter." They didn't like it. But they needed me more than I needed them. 2 days later, the HOA board issued a formal retraction and apology, printed in the county paper. The following week, we finalized the lease, 10 years renewable, with a tidy check arriving every spring. Not life-changing money, but enough to make my coffee taste a little sweeter every morning. When Paul heard about it, he just laughed. "Man, your dad would have loved this story." "Yeah," I said, staring out at the road below. He always said, "Know your land better than anyone else." That night, I sat on the porch as headlights rolled by, and the same HOA residents who once called me the cabin guy causing trouble. Some of them waved now. Some still glared. Didn't matter. Because here's the thing. Power isn't about shouting louder or having fancier papers. It's about knowing what's yours and standing your ground when someone tries to take it. So if you're ever pushed around by someone who thinks they can walk over you, remember this story. Don't fight fire with anger. Fight it with knowledge, with patience, with proof. Because when you know what's yours, nobody can take it away.